Hey YouTube, Puff and Snuff here, Ian, checking in as always from beautiful Northeast Ohio. I mentioned last video that I'm going to be doing some dual back-to-back kind of tandem reviews with Chris over his channel is In a Pinch. And it looks like initially, at least, we're going to be tackling some Swedish snus. And I thought it would probably be a wise idea to jump on and just talk for a few short minutes about what Swedish snus is. For most of you, this is probably unnecessary. A lot of crossover in the tobacco world. A lot of pipe guys are cigar guys, and snuff guys are pipe guys. And Swedish snus is kind of working its way into that mix more and more. But if you're not familiar, here's a real quick rundown on what it is. And big disclaimer, I'm no snus expert. I'm really no tobacco expert, but I think my knowledge is serviceable when it comes to pipe tobacco and nasal snuff. I'm still fairly new to the snus game, so don't take any of this as gospel truth. But if you're new, here's what I know. Swedish snus is an oral tobacco product. It is very different if you're from the States. When you think oral tobacco, you almost certainly the first thing you think is Copenhagen or Grizzly or Skoal, or one of those that you take a pinch of it and you jam it down your lower lip and you walk around like this and you spit into a cup or the mud jug, whatever the crazy kids are calling it. This is very different. These tend to come in discreet little pouches, and yes, I know you can get bandits or pouches. I know. And it can come loose. There are some snus varieties that do come loose, and you mold it into your little ball and you tuck it in. The first main difference is that these guys, right up top, you don't pack a lower lip. Second major difference, this does not generate a need to spit. It doesn't create any additional saliva production. There's really nothing to worry about. It's very discreet, particularly if you have facial hair or a big fat face like me. It's super discreet, and it's very difficult, if not impossible, to tell you're even walking around with a snus in place. um, Let me reiterate here, I am not an expert, nor am I a doctor, and these are my opinions and my opinions only. But my understanding is that Swedish snus is safer. I don't want to say safe, but safer than the dip, in that there are far fewer additives and chemicals and preservatives. It is essentially tobacco, something to adjust the pH, typically something along the lines of like a baking soda or salt. Uh, Typically food grade additives for flavor if it's flavored, and that's about it. Some portions come relatively dry, some come much moister. The ones that are moist have some sort of humectant. I expect that that's propylene glycol. That's the same stuff that you're using to keep your cigar humidor humidified. It's the same stuff that's in hundreds and hundreds of foods that you're buying off the shelf at the grocery store. Um, as far as flavors, there is a range of flavors, but it is a much narrower range than what you get with nasal snuff. The most common that I've seen, kind of the typical, is it's tobacco with bergamot, which if you're coming from snuff, most SPs feature bergamot. Tom Buck is a real Wilson's Tom Buck, also known as Queen's Extra Strong, very popular bergamot scented snuff. And yes, I'm aware the accepted pronunciation is bergamot. I get that. I've heard bergamot, bergamot, bergamot. Bergamot is what rolls off my tongue. I'll try to break the habit, but no promise. Look, it's like Latakia. Do you have any idea how long it took me to make myself start saying Latakia and get over pronouncing it Latakia? But that's really neither here nor there. So, tobacco and bergamot, very common pairing. If you're not familiar with it at all, run down to the cafe, coffee shop, grocery store, head down the coffee and tea aisle, get yourself some Earl Grey tea. that kind of citrusy with a little bit of kind of herby thing going on in it that makes Earl Grey tea taste like Earl Grey tea. That's bergamot. Um, that's very common. There are some fruit flavored snoozes, and also then of course you get into the range of mints, the wintergreen and the mint and the Arctic blast and all these things, which typically are not my cup of tea. And I think that comes from, while I do not use American style dip, Cope, Grizzly, things like that. Um, I did for about 2 weeks in college, and it was not pleasant. And I think, and I even struggle with like mint gums, and I think it's just flashbacks to that. Oh, it was awful. If it's your thing, enjoy it, please. No judgment here. It's just not for me. So the mints aren't really my cup of tea there, um, and that's it. So it's a fairly simple, straightforward thing. Super enjoyable. A portion, it can deliver. If you're looking for nicotine, there are some that can really deliver nicotine. Um, I have a fairly high nicotine tolerance. There are some that I will notice that I'm feeling that nicotine getting into the system a little bit. So some are fairly strong. Um, I don't know. There's a whole lot more to say. Typically they'll last 20 minutes, half hour, 45 minutes. Um, my personal experience, I don't get really any gum irritation. I don't get, you read the horror stories about gums peeling back on the lower teeth and all sorts of things, sores and gums turning white from, the dip. I've never experienced anything like that. My dentist is aware that I occasionally use Swedish snus. He recognizes zero negative effects on my gum line. That is not a statement that this is safe and do it, you're at no risk. It's simply saying that in my experience, I have suffered no ill effects from it. So take from that what you will. That's about it. Like I said, I'm not a snooze god. I don't know everything about this stuff. I've probably had maybe 10 different varieties of the stuff, so I have a lot to learn. I've got a bunch of new snooze to try, part of this project that we're doing, and really looking forward to it. I hope you guys are looking forward to it. Um, any questions about snooze, um, throw them down in the comments. If I can answer, I will. If not, I'll find someone that can. And that's about it. So stay tuned. Hopefully this weekend we'll get the first review or two of this stuff coming up. And I don't know, sounds like fun to me. So that's all I got, guys. Take it easy and have a good night.